So today we have Dr. Anu Singh here, and she's going to be talking to us about creating content in disruptive times.
So hello everyone, I am Anu. Little about me, though I would say James has written and it is also included. So I'll not spend much time here and diving straight into the perspective that I would want to talk about. Now let's talk about some perspective around our audience and content. And I'm using Crow and this Waterport to represent our audience and the content that we create. So precisely a user and information that we create. Want to highlight that our users are evolving as smart users and technologies touching lives in more than one way. So if we are considering a device and the way people use during their daytime, we can imagine our user listening to a podcast while driving a car, or using a mobile device or their cell phone to respond to an email, or read an article on a tablet or a desktop. So it is more about getting the information they need on the go and using the technology and devices they are using. And research shows that 71% of executives are investing in user experience, and we are looking at ways to enhance it further. So with this understanding, I would also like to highlight the three truths that we call John's three truths, and this emphasizes that there is an ever-rising tide of information about every subject, and it will continue forever. There's so much of content out there, so much of information out there, and people are engaging with them to get the information they need, when and where and how they need it. We'll talk more about it. But the second thing is we do not have a lot of time. Each one of us, we have 1,440 minutes in a day, and that is not going to change. Unless we change the duration, we change 24 hours to 25 hours to make a day. Other than that change, we are not getting a second more or a second less. And the third truth that I would like to emphasize here is that the world is becoming an ever more complicated place, and giving people what they want and ensuring that they get what they need in the time when they need it, that's all we can do, and we need to deliver them when, where, and how they want it. As a manufacturer, as a content developer, as an organization, as a service provider, in all perspective, in all aspects. So this is precisely where we are going to talk about multiple insights and perspective, some of the considerations, and then I'll take any questions that you might have for me. So on this note, let's understand what is disruptive time and what does it mean to us. When we talk about disruptive time, I have included two quotes here, and I'm just going to keep it here, where we have a product or service that takes root initially in simple application at the bottom of a market, and then relentlessly moves up market, eventually displacing established competitors. So that is disruption. One example of disruption, and we could never imagine that what we were using more of a music device would become a phone. And that is an example of what disruption could feel or could mean. And any new product that changes the idea radically is what we call disruptive. And with the this understanding, the disruption and change, we have to consider technology available to us and the ever evolving situation. The current situation, in unprecedented times that we are living in, that too is disruption. We never imagined um, to live the way we are living now, using a lot of sanitizer and mask in our day-to-day life. That was unimaginable, beyond our imagination 2 years back. So that too is what I would emphasize as a disruption. And disruption has to understood separately from a change. Any changes, like I have an example here that Porsche tried to disrupt itself, which actually was a change. If we are enhancing a version, if we are upgrading a version, that is more of a change than a disruption. A disruption, as we read the definition in the previous slide, it has to bring a radical change. And some of the changes that we are witnessing day in and day out are being brought by technology, which I would say Internet of Things and artificial intelligence. Again, it is impacting so many things in our life, that we are just becoming so used to it that we are not even realizing we are living in a world of technology. High speed travel, robotics, all the robotic surgery that we have been uh, witnessing, or some of the news reports that's coming in, those are disruption. Remote, and doing a surgery remotely is a disruption, and that is precisely why we call these technologies as disruptive technology. So when we talk about technology, we need to understand there are so many technology advancements that has not only impacted the way we are living, but also the way we see things. It is important to understand that how we are reaching people with content and information that matters to them, when, where, and how they want it, has also changed. We are living in Industry 4.0. We are talking about Society 5.0. We have seen technology trinity, AI, blockchain, and Internet of Things. Learning has become more of M-learning or mobile learning. And with all of the changes, with all of ever evolving situation, all the advancements, we are also experiencing so much of personalized experience. That is what has been gifted to us by Industry 4.0. There's on-demand supply. There's lot of emphasis on localization. There's a lot of emphasis on demand supply at a reduced cost. You can bring all these perspectives to content, and especially Industry 4.0 that has touched all the disciplines. Technical writing or technical communication is actually building a platform for content Industry 4.0. So when we are thinking of creating content, it is important to understand that content has now become information. And information is the power that we all can control. And better informed is the freedom that we all are looking for. And as technical communicator, it has now become our responsibility to create credible, trustworthy content, and that engages with the audience and provide them the information they need when and where they need it. And the reason I'm emphasizing when, where, and how, because these days people use technology, they use devices, and uh, that has a direct impact on the consumption of information or content they use. Imagine people reading a PDF, zooming in, zooming out, instead of that, having something that is more UI specific. Go back to the days of Angry Bird when the product was so intuitive, and the user experience, all the instruction were showing up on the screen. So we are evolving as a smart human being, and technology is touching our life in more than one ways. And it is also important that we plan the execution when we are building our content, when we are creating our content. And how do we do it? We do it by understanding our users, by understanding our users' need. We are catering to users not only during their product adoption journey, but also building a solid ground for the overall product experience. So it is important to understand what they need, um, anticipate the need because we know them so well, and then aggregate all the information and focus on one explicit need, and then create content that is more focused towards meeting uh, those needs and are accessible to all the users on different platforms or channels that they are using. And while we create this, we also have to ensure that we are introducing findability, we are using technology, and we are also ensuring that the technology and content or information is compatible. When we are planning it, we have to understand that now both content and people are involved. When we're considering content, we have to include so many other aspects for greater and inclusive content experience, rather immersive content experience. And when we are considering the people component of the content, we have to ensure that we are optimizing all the resources that's available to our users or the targeted audience. And this is needed because we do want to communicate with them effectively, and we want to support them so that they accomplish the task at their hand. And when we are doing it, it is equally important to create a core creative concept, to create a context and then build that content or information around and tie all the content to an experience that is aligned with our organization's content strategy. And that also complements the brand that we are building, or our organization is trying to build, or position itself in the industry. This also means that when we are engaging with our audience, we have to inspire them, we have to create a platform or create that kind of environment where they could identify their persona. And that is one aspect that we noticed when we were discussing about planning the content. And then also leave a note, some lesson, which is the utilitarian aspect of it. So uh, for example, if we are creating a content for system administrator, we have to create a persona, we have to create content that complements their resourcefulness, that helps them in their troubleshooting, and also give them some quick tips, which is like the utilitarian concept. So this is precisely what we need, so that we instill this feeling of helping them being successful, helping them with success through the content. And this is the other way, or the only way to ensure that we are communicating effectively with them. So some of the things that we can consider is what I'm going to talk about in the next few slides. Um, but first, a few questions that I would want you to ask yourself, or when you're working with a team of technical communicators. Think what you are writing for and who is more important to you, the product or a user. And these days we have to be reader. We have to bring in that audience advocacy, or the if I can use the word reader, because they are going to read our instruction or follow our instruction. uh, that perspective has to be there, so that they can identify themselves and they can identify the relevance of the information. Also, when we are considering language, uh, it has to be appropriate, it has to be politically correct, it has to be uh, so convincing that they feel that they get this feeling that uh, the accuracy, the content is accurate. There's going to be all the resources or help that they need to accomplish a task, and it's just not the jargons or the junk that's out there. So when we are considering language, we also need to keep it minimalistic and not minimal. We need to provide them the information they need, and make it so easy to understand that uh, they complete the task in couple of steps instead of flipping through pages, or just losing a track of step number 23, or doing it step number 42 and then coming back 20 steps back because there is an issue they encountered, and needed some troubleshooting support. Also, we need to understand if psychology has any role to play in the product documentation. This has a direct connection when we consider Maslow's hierarchy of need. It is not just building that safety net that it is okay to click the OK button, or it is okay to select the option that is written on the instruction guide or install guide or release notes, or anything that we are delivering as part of the product documentation or documentation deliverable, and they are feeling safe to use those instructions. They are feeling safe to refer to our document while they are troubleshooting. And at the same time, we also need to identify and need to consider techniques that we can follow or we can adopt to be more successful, to optimize all the resources that's available to us. So some of the things I have shared here as my notes, that when you're writing for a product, consider who is more important, and then follow the mantra of audience in audience. It is important to build persona. It is important to understand what are the 5 top challenges they face every day, or in their work day, during their work day, and how we can address those through our content or information. And if we are writing for them, we have to ensure that we are explaining product, but also we are organizing information according to the user, and not what we consider as the best layout for our users. Again, it is important to understand that sounds are music to some ears and noise to others. So an HTML5 could be making best, is going to be more effective to somebody who is actually using the product, and is comfortable pressing F5 or that F1 key, and then the help file pops up. At the same time, delivering 60 pages install guide or quick reference guide to a mobile user who is using a mobile app will not give them any information. So it is just not, the disruptive time, if we refer to the theme, it's just not about what has become, whether the information is available now. It is equally important that we are thinking beyond availability or accessibility of information. We are curating information so that they are finding it easy to navigate. They are they are able, they extract the information they need and they make use of that information. Otherwise, anything they are not consuming would become a junk. So it is important to understand your user, anticipate their need, and build the content and information, and even the output uh, around their need, and what is accessible to them, and just not following the standard protocols that if it is a product, we have to deliver PDF and all these format that we have been delivering traditionally. So it is more about thinking beyond the traditional approach and bringing in that user perspective, becoming readers, reader's advocate, I would say, when we are writing for a product. Also, we talked about language. It is important that we are writing and we are writing and also considering content in terms of graphic, rich media, anything that we can actually bring in or consider. In addition to the traditional PDF we build, uh, including infographics or podcasts, and we'll talk more about it. But we have to think about printed content and beyond printed content. And then also whether we are writing for our alpha clients or our beta clients. So whether the information is needed in detail, do we have those topic, concept, reference kind of tags identified? Whichever approach we take, it is important to keep the language simple, whether we are following English, the English language in terms of Chicago Manual or MSTP or any IBM style guide standard, or even the applying principles of minimalism, principles of accessibility, using those alt text, whichever mechanism we are using, we have to keep it simple, inclusive, and politically correct. And also, if we can tag our information to specific types, it's going to make the experience, the content experience, far better for our audience. Why we need to think in terms of our audience? Because we know that psychology does play an important role for us and the users. And when we have a product, we are actually, as technical communicators, building a platform for our users to come, feel safe, understand the product, and then adopt the product, and then do whatever it needs or should be done for that product to be functional, and use all those features that's available. So it is important to understand that when we are writing, we are keeping our users right in front of us, and then we are also bringing in clarity, we are also bringing in crispness to whatever we are writing, and making it relevant, making it appropriate for them, using the technology that's available, whether we are using some documentation tool or we are using some or rather hosting our documents, our help files on a doc server, or delivering it as a PDF, whichever mechanism, whichever channel we are using, we have to be judicious, we have to be resourceful, we have to be I would say enough and suffice the need of our users in whatever role we are playing, as a manager, as a writer, as a consumer. We have to bring in all those perspectives and treat our task, the task of creating content, the task of structuring information, like a business opportunity, because a lot depends on the availability of information for our users. And also, while we are doing it, while we are considering technology, we have to also explore what is the best approach based on the technical objects that we are creating and our target audience. Would it be more appropriate to deliver HTML5, or do I still have those specific content consumers who would be happy with a CHM, a compiled help manual? Or do I still have those readers who would love to read PDF and not just look for specific how-tos or quick reference cards to execute a task? And however, when we are approaching a task, we have to keep it more of task oriented. So one task, and this is what we call core creative concept. One task, we focus on that, we bring in all the information that's needed. If and wherever it is important and appropriate, we use see also or more information, so that we provide them more opportunities. We are curating content for our users, and bring all the information that they might need, which is like we anticipate that they could need this information, and they could be interested in learning about something, in addition to what we are providing as couple of steps. So I'll take an example, and keeping it simple, if we all know, if we all eat apple, and we can write about an apple and what the benefits of an apple. At the same time, see also green apple, or cause whatever whatever I would say, different types that we are familiar of, or we consider um, our users, our target audience might be aware of. We can bring in all those and make it more of curated for them to read more about those different apple categories. Also see also or more information on some of the dishes, the recipes that they can cook uh, for with an apple. That is also what you can consider, depending on what product or services your organization is offering. So this is going to um, give them a lot of information, and at the same time not just make the information available, but also curate the information. And when we are uh, structuring, when we are organizing that information, we have to keep it simple. Also, we have to take that the style consideration. If a bullet is going to make more sense, or if we want them to follow step 1, 2, and 3, we have to uh, do away with bullets. We have to put a numbered list, and not just anything fancy there, which will make things available and clear to our users. Now also, if they are considering bringing in information or curating information, anything that we consider as troubleshooting, because as human, we all make mistakes, but as technical communicators, it is our responsibility to help our users recover from those mistakes, and troubleshooting information would be very helpful. So when you're building your doc set, when you're actually writing for a product, also consider what techniques you can consider, what all information you can bring in addition to troubleshooting, so that they get all the resources, all the information, and use it, consume it when they need to. This everything that we talked about would would have a direct impact on the overall user experience with the content. It is important to remember that not all content is created equal. So we need to have information that explains tasks. We need to have ease of navigation, and we talked about findability, accessibility, searchability, discoverability. So it is uh, at times anticipating what our users might be thinking of or might need. These all would come under ease of navigation. Again, ease of navigation would be TOC, or the heading level. You cannot have troubleshooting information somewhere hidden as H3 or H4. It has to be H1 wherever it is. Then inclusive of overviews that user really need. We all are our organization. I'll take and say it this way, that our organization, or the services, the products that our organizations have to offer to various clients, uh, it has to be, we have to have those concepts, we have to have those overviews made available to our users, be it a product or a service. What what the product is, why they would need it, how it's going to help better their life, or better, help them cater to their end users effectively. So those inclusions would make or would help you add value to the content that we are building. Also, procedure in task order, there's we have so many configurations, so many implementation steps. It is important to have those procedures in the task order. What is needed to be done first, what should we what the user should do first. So that clarity, those how to steps would help a user. And if you can complement all the information with some pictorial clarity or infographics or flowcharts or images, even those micro videos or micro burst as they call, or even the concept of micro content would help bring in more clarity and would provide easy steps for our users to refer to and build on their understanding. So that's, I would say, a lot on impact. And at the end, with the content, with the kind of content we create, we are going to have happy customers, happy content consumers. And this is our responsibility as a technical communicator to bring in that readers advocacy, think beyond product, take that drone view of 90 feet and look at things and then connect the dots for a happy customer and for a successful product adoption journey. So on this, I'm sharing some references I used, and willing to take any questions that you might have for me.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Anu, for the presentation. I will just give everyone a moment to start to digest and to think about their responses whilst I share with everybody the information about what's coming up. So next month we have John Kearney talking about cybersecurity. And we have our podcast out from the January edition about typography, both well worth catching.